will be recorded so that we can use it afterwards. And if anything is missed, you have the opportunity to um, view it again. I'm going to go ahead and share presentation. Um, this was emailed to you before the session started, and so you can follow along there. We also have a link in that email to shared notes, so please feel free to um, add notes uh, to that shared Google document. I have also placed on that document the links to the books about UDL, which we've talked about a few times, and we're going to talk about one more time. Um, and UDL is really based off of, was really the main push for most of the changes made in Ultra. So I want to apologize for the beeps. I forgot to turn them off, and it's something that has to be done before the meeting starts. And so you'll just bear with us for the beeps. Maybe even join in the rock out session that takes place at the end of the meeting when everybody beeps out. It's good times. Joining us today, we also have Jeremy Schneider and Misty Pitts, and so they'll be helping with the chat. If we aren't able to get to your question, please know that the resources, including the recordings, the PowerPoint, and the chat log, will all be available in the CTL online organization in Blackboard. Yes, and Misty, if you could go ahead and put that link to the sandbox request form in the chat, that would be awesome. If you would like to request an Ultra sandbox or a course conversion, you can fill this form out and we'll take care of that. Um, if if you miss the link, you can also submit a ticket through the help@laverne.edu, and that will go to Misty, and she can take care of that for you as well. All right, so we are at 2:03. Our session goes till 3:15. So we will, so the goal will be about an hour of demo and talking, some moments to stop and reflect, and then we'll do as many questions as we can. Um, unless you'd like some of your Friday back, I'm more than happy to give you that time. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Feedback in Blackboard Ultra. So today, really this afternoon, what we're going to go over is um, some basics of feedback and how it starts with communication, how we communicate to our students, how we communicate through our classes. Then we'll go into Ultra and we'll talk about how to access your grades. There's a couple of different ways that you can access your grades that really, from my point of view in interacting with the previous grade center, makes things a lot easier, things a lot more accessible. Then we'll go over how to add columns and items to your gradebook, as well as how to set up a weighted column, a weighted gradebook. And then we'll go over how to grade in assignments themselves. So how to provide your students with feedback, different things that you can do to make sure that your students are getting the feedback that they need and the feedback that you want to provide for them, okay, to create significant learning experience. Right. Okay, so again, we're going to start with the introduction to Ultra. And as I've said in previous sessions, really a lot of the changes that have been made are for UDL. And what I want you to think about while we're going over the different feedback that we're providing, that we have the options to provide in this session, is UDL is about our students engaging with the content in different ways, displaying their skills in different ways, but it's not just the content, it's also how we engage with our students, the feedback that we provide for them, making sure that it's not just a checkbox response, but it is feedback that is meaningful to the learning objectives that we've set for them. And so we want to make sure that the feedback that we give is intentional. We want to make sure that it's inclusive, and we want to make sure that we are addressing the specific points that need to be addressed. Okay? So we want to be design minded in our feedback. Okay, with that, with that, with that in mind, really we have the opportunity to really focus on learning how to learn, especially with our specific content areas. It's really important that we encourage and we give our students the ability to learn how to learn in our specific content areas. So when we're providing feedback, it's not just going to be like, hey, you did great. Awesome. It needs to be, you did great. Here's a couple of things to work on. Why? Giving them a why it's important to work on them is always helpful. And then providing them with some further encouragement to go forward. So, yeah, with our feedback, we are able to build up the learning how to learn aspects of LD Fink's significant learning experience, the caring aspect, and really tapping into that human dimension that is really, really important, especially with the type of learning community that we have and we've developed at the University of Laverne, making sure it's a high touch, um, meaning, oh, we don't want to say high touch, do we? Meaning that it is a person to person interaction. Okay, even if it's asynchronous, even if it's distance learning, we're making sure that our students are feeling included, our students are feeling communicated and heard. Okay, transparent communication. So when it comes to feedback, we really set ourselves up for a stronger feedback type of situation when we are transparent before even provide the feedback. So, meaning when we are setting up our course, when we are setting out the assignment, when we provide our students with clear purpose, clear task, and criteria for them to do some self evaluation before they even turn in the paperwork, before they even turn in the assignment or the activity, we allow for greater communication to go back and forth. Okay, whether it's a video response that we send to them with feedback, or it's a video that provides them with further explanation of a specific topic. Maybe it's a pinch point that you need to expand on because you're seeing that something wasn't quite understood. When we set our students up before the assignment is even due, feedback is more meaningful. We can stay focused on what needs to be improved and how things can be enriched in the learning experience. Okay? We're always going to bring back some Bloom's taxonomy because we like Bloom's. Uh, think, Fink, and Bloom. Um, so we want to make sure that we are um, communicating to our students that learning is not a linear process, but it will be a continuous wheel that uh, we will apply things, and sometimes we'll understand things, but then we may need to go back and evaluate. We'll need to reflect and see, okay, what did I learn about this process? Was this helpful? How did I learn in this process? And so this is a tool that we've provided with you when you are building out your assignments, when you're providing feedback and stuff like this, some verbs that can help further display and further explain things. Okay. All right, like I said, like I touched on previously, feedback starts with strategic communication. It's how you open up your course. It is how you engage with your learners and making sure that it is a space where questions can be asked, things can be mistakes can be made, and it's not going to be a punitive thing. It's going to be, hey, mistakes happen. This is why we're here to learn and we're here to grow. So when you're having this strategic communication, it's really important to set a consistent structure, be consistent in your communication, and be intentional about what you're communicating and why you're communicating. So when it comes to our assignments, why are we having our students do this? It's because there's a specific skill or there's a specific concept that needs to be understood, and we want to make sure that we're going about it the proper way and we are providing feedback that addresses those specific things. So now we're going to get into the layout of the actual tools that we can utilize in Blackboard Ultra to apply these different design theories. Okay, so again, we use technology where technology can be used, and we don't just use it because it's fun and fun. That's the official term. Fun and fun. All right, so we are on the institution page for Blackboard Ultra. Um, this is the new look and feel. This is how all of your students and yourselves will come into Blackboard from now on. When you go through the portal, please update your bookmarkers. If you see something different, let us know. You can always submit a ticket or email us at ctl@laverne.edu, and we'll help you out with that. To access your grades, you can go a few different ways. So first and foremost, from the institution page, you have this column on the left-hand side of the screen where it says your name, it says the institution page, and then it has your name. What I want you to see, and I'm going to use my handy dandy annotation tool, is that you also have a grades option right here. Okay, so you can go directly from the institution page to your gradebook. And not just your gradebook for one class, but your gradebook for all of your classes. This is going to be a summary of all of the different classes that you have going right away. Okay, so most of you know I've been working in the CTL sandbox. This is where I like to play and test things out. So I automatically, upon entry to Blackboard Ultra, have access to see what needs to be graded, if things have been submitted, and then I can even view all of the work that I've set up in my gradebook. Okay, so I see that the Think Fast lesson review, it's all been graded. The new assignment has been graded. I got nothing turned in for test one. It could be because it's not available to students yet. And then so it gives you a nice summary of everything that is done. And then when you are graded and everything's posted, you get that nice little green check mark, which is always fun to see. Tools like attendance are an ongoing thing, so you can go ahead and mark the attendance simply by clicking. And you'll see here that I marked the attendance for today, so I'm all good and caught up. It's going to be a nice little reminder for you that says, okay, it's time to mark your attendance and stuff like that. And so I know for me, marking attendance is something that I often forget about doing. So that's another helpful tool for me um, to look at that. Okay. Students will see the attendance if you make it available to them. Okay, so that is one way to access your gradebook. Okay, another way to access your gradebook is to go to courses, again on this left-hand panel under the main page of the Blackboard Ultra. Go directly into the class itself by clicking on the either if you have it in the grid view or the list view, you can click on the class, enter into the class, and you will see in the upper right hand corner a paper with a pencil in the lower right hand corner, and that is your grade book. Okay. You'll click on that, and this will give you a full overview of all of the grades that you have going. So list view is very similar to the view that you have when you go through the institution page on main portal. Um, if you are a little bit more comfortable with the Blackboard Learn full grade center view, you can go ahead and in the upper left hand corner, right under gradebook, you'll see the hamburger where it's the 3 lines. That's called a hamburger. And next to that, you'll see a grid. Okay, if you click on that grid, you'll see now you have a grid view of all of your students, their total grades, the overall grades, and then a list of all of the assignments that you have in the course. Okay, so um, I know for me, I like to come in on the list view because it kind of gives me a focus of what I need to do first, and then I like to switch to the grid view, because then I can be a little bit more focused on the specific things. Okay, so feel free to switch back and forth. Um, as you can see, as a participant in my own class, I have a D minus. I am, you know, teachers make the worst students. um, uh, so uh, we're in grid view 2. Create anything, like if you have, say you are having face-to-face meetings, if you need to add an item or anything like that to your grade book, you can, I prefer to go to the list view. I see the little plus sign right here, and I can add an item. Just give it a title up here, assign the category that you want it to be in, make it available to students, points. Really, really, it's very easy. Um, and what I'm really enjoying about the Ultra interface is that I'm not going from another page to another page to another page. These side panels I really dig because it keeps me where I'm at, and I'm able to go back and forth much easier for things. Okay, so that is the second way to access grades. The third way to access grades is when you are in the course and you go directly to an assignment. You can click on the assignment from the content area, and in the upper right hand corner you'll see submissions. In front of that you'll see parentheses of how many submissions have been submitted. You can click on that, and in that area right there, you can start grading and get a review of all of the grades for that specific assignment. So for me, this is awesome because it kind of keeps me focused. It gives me an idea of where things are. I don't have to go from an assignment to the grade center to do. Easy peasy lemon squeezing. And so for me personally, when I do grading in Ultra, I will be going to the assignments, looking at the submissions, and then grading right there. And then I can go once I'm looking at things. Once I'm looking at things in the bigger view for the overall grades that are happening for the students that I'm teaching, I'll go to the grade center, which again, you will access by going all the way to the top right hand corner to the paper with the pencil in the lower corner, and I'll click on that for the full gradebook view. Okay, so we have 3 ways of accessing grades, and it really just depends on what works best for you, what's most convenient for you at that time. Okay. Now, so let's go ahead and go to, so that's the main layout. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to build out our grade book. Okay, so very similar to Blackboard Learn, when you build an assignment or a discussion or a test, anytime you say this is going to be graded, it will automatically populate a column or a line in your gradebook. Okay, that time saver has not gone away. And it's something that I actually really encourage you guys to do. If you're going to have an assignment that's going to get turned in, if you can make it digital, it. Totally do it. That way that there's a specific trail where your students see what has happened, that they have the backup that it has been turned in. You have the backup that it's been turned in. You can grade everything digitally if you want. If you want to print it out, you do have that ability. And then you can attach the file, scan it and attach the file if that is more comfortable for you. But it also just keeps everything all together, all in one place. Okay. Um, and so right now, if I go to my gradebook, you see that I've actually got a lot of stuff already pre-populated because I have been building assignments and everything like that. If I have an assignment that is maybe like those exit tickets, where it's kind of just like a participation, or it's something that is handed in and it doesn't have, it's not going to be turned in digitally. Take a wild guess. You're going to hit the plus sign that shows up with the when you hover between items. So you'll click that, you'll select item, and again, you'll just fill in this basic information and it will show up. Okay. Um, Super easy peasy. It's a time saver, and I really like it. I like it a lot. And so you have the ability to build out individual assignments just like that. If you want to reorganize your grade book at all, if you hover over the row and you see those up and down arrows, anytime you see that, you can move it around. Okay, so you just click and hold. You can move things around just like that. Very similar actually to how you can move content around in the course itself. So we've got our content area. I can go ahead and click and hold and move things up and down like that as well. Okay. All right. So we know how to add a single item that's not going through Blackboard into our gradebook simply by clicking on the plus sign and selecting an item. And then from there, we can also build out any of the assignments, populate our gradebook by building out an assignment or a discussion or even a journal, as long as we specify that it's going to be graded. Then it will populate a place in our gradebook. Okay, so real quick, assignments, anything under the assessment column, anything under the assessment will automatically populate your gradebook because it is assumed that it will be graded. All right, when we choose to do one of the content items, that's not going to say, it's not going to create a column because it won't have a grade attached to it, but you do have the option to grade the discussion and the forum. So you do have the ability to create a column by simply creating a discussion, and then you'll see for the discussion settings, grading, this is not graded. We can click on the settings. Give me just 1 second. Sometimes your screen locks up a little bit. Okay. Hit save. happens if I come back in. Discussion. Same. Save. There we go. So now we see under discussion settings, we have the ability to grade the discussion. And whenever we do a points possible option, then we will go ahead and create a column in our gradebook. Okay. So we built out our gradebook items either by manually creating an item in our gradebook, creating an assignment or some type of assessment, or choosing to grade our journals or our discussions. Okay, so those are the three ways to add content to our gradebook. All right, so let's go ahead and before we go into creating the weighted gradebook, I'm going to just take a breath real quick and read through the questions and see what you guys are asking about. Actually, before, I would like to know how many of you are currently using the Grade Center in Blackboard Learn? Is this a practice that you already have? Nice. Very good. For the most part, I'm seeing that a lot of people are using it, which is awesome. Um, and I understand the paranoid, paranoid, it happens. Um, what I would recommend is because it allows your students to see the grades almost instantly, um, maybe you can create the hard copy and just create the items and uh, enter those manually. But really, I'm going to recommend that you start using the gradebook just because not only does it provide students with feedback, but our system is synced. So we've put some backup processes in place that, especially with Ultra, that you're less likely to lose things. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead, go into our grade book, and real quick, thing that I want to show you is these buttons right here. And I think this is going to answer a number of the questions that were posted about downloading the gradebook. So all I did was I clicked on this box that has an arrow going in, and that is a download button. The side panel pops out. It asks if you want to download the full gradebook, select columns, if you'd like an Excel or CSV, and then where you would like to save it. So the content collection area is almost like the Blackboard cloud that allows you to save it all in the Blackboard system. And so, or you can save it directly to your computer. So you have the ability to go ahead and download it just as easy as that. So in Learn, it was a little bit more of an extra process, but here I can just go ahead, click that box, and download it. And now I have an Excel file, which you guys won't be able to see. 1 second. Actually, I want you guys to see this. I'm going to share my full screen. So what I wanted you guys to see is the file format and extension of my sandbox gradebook. Don't they don't match. So the file could be corrupted or unsafe. This is very common to come up, especially if you're downloading something from the internet, because our computers are very mindful about protection at this point. And so when you see this, I don't want you to think that your gradebook has been corrupted. It's just saying, hey, want to give you the heads up, this may be an unsafe file because it's coming from someplace outside of my expectations. So all you have to do is click yes, I'm okay to do that. And from there, you can go ahead and still go over your full gradebook. Okay? You also have the ability to upload a gradebook. So like one of a couple of people have said that they like to build their own Excel files, and that's how they use their grade books. You do have the ability to um, format and upload your gradebook to the Ultra Blackboard gradebook. Okay, so that is an option. We can go over the different formatting and stuff needed to do that in another workshop, but I do want you to know that that is an option that is available to you. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go back to sharing applications. Okay. So to review the attendance, you do have the ability to go for a single session, or you can go to overall and see the entire term. You can export it by clicking on this box with an arrow going out the diagonal corner, and that will go into an Excel file as well. Okay, so you do have a couple of things, a couple of options with attendance that you can address there. All right, so we'll go ahead and go back to our full grade book. And so what we just went over right now was how to download your gradebook, how to upload your gradebook, different ways that you could interact with the attendance tool, as well as building the different content out. Okay. All right. So now what I want to go over with you is how to deal with a weighted gradebook. Okay. So very similar to our previous version of Blackboard, with Blackboard Learn, you do have to create categories. And to do that, you can go to added calculation. So you can do an add calculation. And this would be where you would go ahead and like create your totals. You can get a little bit more detailed about how you want to create your grade schema, everything like that. So I highly suggest that if you have a sandbox, so a place, it's basically a fake course shell that we set up as an ultra view course. Um, Play with this, mess around with it, try to break Blackboard. If you figure out a way to break Blackboard, let us know, because then that helps us out. So play with the add calculation column. You also have the ability to click on the cog in the upper left-hand corner. And from here, you can add new categories. So I've got shops here. I can delete categories. This is going to be, they'll always give you a standard list of categories. If you want to use those, you can add rubrics to any of this. You also have the ability to get grade grade notations. So um, if you want to add like an A plus, a B, a smiley face, whatever, I wouldn't recommend a smiley face. It's really more K through 12, really more K through 5. But you have a lot of flexibility in how you set up your grades, your grade book. For current grading schema, if you click on that, it has a pre-prepared schema set up for you. So if you have your grades set up in a different way for your specific class, you can just go in here and edit however you need to fit the grade schema that you or your department have set up. Okay. Again, to access this grade setting, the gradebook settings, you'll go to the gradebook, which is accessed by clicking on the paper in the upper right hand corner. Once you're in the gradebook, you'll click on the cog, which is on the upper right left hand corner. Left and right, there's a difference. Once you're there, you'll go to gradebook settings and you'll be able to go to current grade schema and you'll click on that. From there, you can edit all of those things down. Okay. If you want to add a category for your weighted gradebook, all you have to do is click on add category, type in the name, um, flexions, and you're good to go. All groovy. Okay. So the overall grade is the weighted grade. So we've got our total option right here, and actually I'll move these up so they're closer to each other so that we can view it. So the total is the number of points possible. So it's the point value where, and then we have the overall grade. So if you have a weighted grade book, this is where you would set that up. Okay, so you'll go ahead and click on overall grade. It will give you a rundown of the current calculations. And if you want to edit this, you'll go to the three dots on the right-hand side. I don't know if you've noticed this pattern. Anytime you want to edit something in Ultra, you'll see the three dots. Doot, doot, doot. You'll click on that, and you'll have the option to edit or delete, so on and so forth. Okay, so you'll click Edit, and here you see the different categories that I have already set up and the different weights that I've made available. Okay, so one of the really cool things is that I can go ahead and delete things as need be. So if I don't grade the discussions, whatever, if I don't have journals, whatever. But what I want you to see is right here at the bottom, once I deleted the journals category, which was 10% of the overall grade, I got a warning that says the total must equal 100% because my total is now 90%. Okay. Also, what happened here is that I can select how overall grades are calculated. So if I want to do by items or if I want to do by categories. So sometimes we have like just the final paper is worth 50%, and or we have our a course set up where we've got maybe 3 or 4 main assignments, and that is the weight of our course. Not something that I necessarily suggest unless you have a bunch of smaller assignments that you don't count towards the grades. But again, not something that I suggest. But you can do by categories, and you can save. You can. It brought it back. Grades, calculation details. See, do you remember where I can add these? brain has turned to pizza. I'm forgetting at this moment. Me. Let me check this out. Go to edit. Here we go. Things there. Hey, Missy, do you remember how to add things to the weighted totals?
I'm gonna look into that. Give me 1 sec.
You ever have those moments when you're teaching in class and you forget the name of a very important person that you're actually teaching on? That's what's happening right now. It's transparent teaching. Okay.
That's under added calculation. Grade book.
Added calculation.
Add calculation.
This doesn't look like it's mine. You forget your own name all the time? Dr. Prasad, that's rough. I feel that pain. All right.
Test that you're putting in the, or I'm sorry, I was trying to catch up with the chat, so I wasn't really seeing where we're at.
So I am in overall grade. So I'm building out my weighted total. I'm going to go to edit. I'm choosing that I would like, we were just on this screen the other
Yes,
day.
we were. Oh, yeah, this is where you put them in. This is where you put your weights in, remember?
Yeah, but how do I add the categories?
Go back to the other screen. I'm sorry, the drop down. No,
Did I just
go
there?
back there. Yeah. No. Oh, very good.
This is weird. This is
We just did it yesterday.
so when you
We're
choose
gonna find
items,
it right now.
you have the different items showing up here. I was watching a YouTube instruction on creating grades in Blackboard. It was the fastest. This is actually far easier than
Yeah, we're doing
other than setting up your categories in the previous version. Just right now, we're having a little bit of an issue.
Give me a sec. Sorry.
Where it is.
We were just not yesterday, and now I can't remember.
If
Go back to.
one of you would
Can you click on
like to Google it, huh?
Can you click on close for a second? Yeah. And right here is where you're going to add the category. So if you put I'm sorry, you can't see me pointing at that. Add a new category by the plus, not in the overall grade, but under where it says. Oh no, those are.
Yes, we can move on past the overall
Yes,
gradebook and I will create a video for you.
find it
So,
before we.
this is what happens when IT people run into problems. They start troubleshooting immediately, doesn't matter what they're doing. All right,
About that.
so that is how we create a weighted gradebook. I will put a video in the um, uh, CTL online organization that specifically goes over weighted gradebooks as well as point-based gradebooks. Okay. Um, all right. So let's go ahead and go back to the presentation. That's how you build your structure out. And so one of the things that is really awesome about uh, Ultra is the ability to grade straight from your assignments. I've touched on it before. It's something that I think would be very helpful. So we've got our assignments. We're gonna go ahead and go into the assignment. We see that we have one submission. This was something that I already graded, but we can go ahead and whenever you have a submission, you'll see um, that it has been complete, it's been submitted. All you need to do to grade it directly from the assignment itself is click on the student's name. It will bring you to the submission itself. Something that I like is that it also provides the prompt for you that's available. Um, and you can go ahead and uh, do any markups, anything like that, directly on the document right there that's submitted. If you would rather download the document, again, you just need to click those three dots. You can download it and grade it however you would like there. You can provide feedback by clicking on the little post-it with the arrow that goes down, and you can even edit it. You have the ability to do bold, all of these different things. You can do bulleted lists. So if you are going, I will get to rubrics in just a minute, but thank you. You can just go ahead and provide a list of the different changes that need to be added. You can do video or math formulas depending on the course that you're teaching. Okay? So that is a basic way to provide grading for your students. If you are using a rubric, you can create them when you are in your course and you've set up the assignment. Um, so we'll go ahead and create a new assignment. Click on the plus sign. Go ahead and click create. Click on assignment. Provide your assignment with a title. And then you'll go into the assignment settings. Okay. Click on the cog and again you'll see this right-hand menu pop out. For a rubric, you'll go to add a grading rubric and you can create one based off of own your own setup, or they also have essay responses, reflection, and rubrics for assignments. So they do have templates available for you if you would like to use these. Okay. You have the ability to set either percentage range or points. I'm sorry, specific percentage of the uh, assignment or a percentage range, so like between 5 and 10%. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and edit this. So just build it out the way you normally would. So I'm not exactly sure with the other one why it was set up for no uh, no effort at the 100%. Um, Not something that I would normally do, but as you can see, if you go in to create your own specific um, rubrics, does also have a nice template for you. So you can go ahead and add your different description text. You can go ahead and also edit the column and row titles however you need. Um, so we'll just go ahead and do our standard fake lorem ipsum across the different categories. And from there, you also have the ability to add and remove different sections. Okay, so we filled in our very thorough and extensive rubric. We're going to go ahead and save that. For our new assignment, we're going to select the grading rubric to test 2. We'll hit save. I'll go in as a student. I don't know if I made this assignment available. Give me just one quick second. I'm going to make this visible to students. Go back to student preview. It shows me that there's been grading. I'll go to the course content as a student and submit assignment. Okay. All right, so my submission has not been graded, but it's there. All good to go. I'll go back to the instructor view so we can see how you grade using the rubric in Blackboard Ultra. Okay. I'll go to the assignment itself. I see that I have one submission. I'll go ahead and click the attempt to grade. And I see that I have a new button here that will provide me with the rubric. Okay. All I need to do is select the value that I want to provide the student. Okay. So it was satisfactory there. It'll go to the next one. The next one, overall grade is 87.5 out of 10. If I want to add additional feedback other than the rubrics text, okay, and you'll go ahead and hit save. And now you have done your grading using a rubric in Blackboard. I'll provide you guys with a video that goes into more detail in a little bit, and I can go ahead and go at a slower pace in that video, as well as a handout for you. So that is how you create a rubric, and that is how you add additional comments. Okay. Something that I also want you to take note of is that I don't have other submissions, and so I do have the option to hold posting this grade until all of the other submissions are completed and graded. If I want to go ahead and make this grade available to the student, all I have to do is click on this gray button that says post. And now that student can see their grade and my grading is completed. Okay. All right, so that brings us just to 3 o'clock. Um, I think that some really great questions have been asked in the chat, and I would like to um, open up this time that if you have any questions, you can go ahead and post them there. Um, you do have the ability to change the grade once it has been posted by simply clicking again on that user's name, click on the grade itself, and you can edit the grade as needed. Okay. So I would recommend once it's posted, the student can see it. You can't unpost it. So make sure you want your students to see it. Reference metrics. Is that something that you would want your students to see before they get graded? Can you go into a little bit more detail on the preference matrix, Christine? Training is being developed for the students. I do have a playlist that has been put out by Blackboard. Um, let me go ahead and post that in the chat. Okay. Oh, items analysis. I think we actually talked about that in the previous section, Christine. It's something that I'm just starting to work with in the Ultra system, and so I would like to actually work with you specifically on it. Item analysis for rubrics. How about you and I have a conversation outside of this so we can flesh out. Perfect. Thank you. Analytics, that's actually something that Christine and I were just talking about. Analytics for Ultra is a little bit different. It goes over more question specific and assignment specific. So it tracks not only if students are doing it, but how well things are designed and everything like that. So it provides a little bit different view um, of things. Okay. Um, I do have some questions in the Q&A section. The ebooks that we've talked about before are available to view online. I think you can download them. I do believe you can download them. It's like chapter by chapter, but it's through the Wilson Library. And so if you are um, using the Laverne account, you should be fine to do that. Ultra linked to WebAssign. I believe it's a building block that we're working on, but we'll get back to you on that. Um, I'll make a note of it to make sure that we address it specifically for you. Okay. Is the tracking feature still available, or is that part of analytics? I believe it's part of analytics. Okay. I'm going to actually go ahead and wrap up this session. If you have any further questions, please feel free to go ahead and email them to us directly. You can always, and if you have any questions and we're not able to get to them, we will be posting the chat and using this as a document to build out further support for you guys. Yes, you can put grades in text form rather than points. That is still possible. Yes, I did have to go rather quickly during this session because I wanted to make sure that I could show everything. And, sometimes technology works against you. My lab, Jessica, that's something that you can email Misty about so that we can make sure that that plugin is set up properly. All right, you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here and spending your Friday afternoon with us.